Service or parts, go where experience reigns supreme. Luck Chevrolet in Ashland and online at luckchevrolet.com. Proud to be family owned since 1960.
Looking for the perfect gift for the DCU Rams fan on your holiday list? How about DCU basketball tickets? DCU Athletics is offering a great holiday deal that includes tickets to 2 upcoming DCU men's basketball games and a pair of women's basketball tickets for just $30. Go to DCUathletics.com/promos and enter the promo code HolidayRams. Again, visit DCUathletics.com/promos and enter the code HolidayRams to purchase your DCU basketball holiday ticket package.
8 years ago, we set out to make it a brighter Christmas. The young kids can go home like today.
What's that? Oh no, we have plenty of time. Plenty of time. I got all sorts of help.
Something other than speakers.
Again, pick it up. You have one of the mics on? No.
It'll take a second.
What? Internal mic is on maybe?
Because he has
the holidays are the perfect time to thank customers and clients for their business. That's where promotional considerations can help. They'll help you find the perfect item from the thousands of products they can deliver. Uniforms for the upcoming season? Promotional Considerations has a full team division that can supply whatever you need. Promotional Considerations will make your brand or logo stand out. Give a call, 288-2224. Promo Considerations.
Papa John here. It's that time of the year. Football is back. And you know what they say? One of the best parts of watching football is the pizza. Well, that's what they should say.
Up your game with our kickoff special. Get any large 2-topping pizza for just $10. Add a double chocolate chip brownie for just $6.
Better ingredients, better pizza, PapaJohns.com.
The official pizza sponsor of the NFL.
Sorry about that.
Not knowing any of the coupons or discounts, prices, participation, delivery, and trade may vary.
Pick them out. They're tough, but I can pick them out.
Southwest Airlines knows great service means big smiles. Offering non-stop service from Richmond to Atlanta and Orlando. Nothing friends fun. Book online only at Southwest.com.
Southwest Airlines is delivering happy people from Richmond
would be a
to
setting
over
on the
45 destinations daily with non-stop or connecting service. That's a lot of destinations to the places you want to go. Book now at Southwest.com.
It's the audio feed on here is feeding me every sound from this.
Hey sports fans, this is Ross Luck at Luck Chevrolet. We're part of the Fans First Network and we support local sport. Now, back to Hardly Working with Greg Burke.
First of all, let me say, if you're shopping for a Chevy car or truck, buy it from Luck Chevrolet in Ashland, where the Luck family's been doing business for more than 100 years.
And you can find them online at luckchevrolet.com. And if you go buy a car in December, they'll throw in the bow. I always say that in December, right? You want a big red bow in your driveway with a car underneath it? That'd be awesome. luckchevrolet.com. Spider Ross obviously fired up. He said yet another huge game on a huge
Throughout the course of the college basketball season, before we get to the holiday break, we will have 3 consecutive shows tonight and the next 2 Mondays. Then we'll take a couple of weeks off, and then coming back in January, we will be here each and every Monday night at Joe's Inn Bon Air for the basketball version of the Spider Sports Line. Those of you asking about the football version of the Spider Sports Line, it continues tomorrow for lunch at Outback on the other side of the river with head coach Danny Rocco as the Spiders continue their playoff run. I'm really excited about tomorrow's football show. I'm going to talk basketball here in just a moment, but we have David Jones and Brian Brown as our football guests tomorrow. I don't know if you get more star-studded than that, other than Coach Mooney and Michael Schaefer, who will both be there at the basketball show tonight. Chris is pulling into the parking lot. He'll be putting the headset on, and he'll be with us in about a minute or so. And then Coach Schaefer is going to join us as well tonight. A little bit of the backstory this evening. This is finals week at the University of Richmond, so while there are no classes, there are tests and papers, and it changes practice schedule. So the women are practicing as we speak, and the men will have an opportunity to practice at about 6:30 tonight. So when Coach Schaefer's done, he's going to come sit down here. Coach Mooney's going to start the show, and then they'll flip-flop. So we'll talk a lot of Spider basketball tonight because both of our hoops teams are going great guns right now. We welcome Chris Mooney back to Joe's Inn. Second year, Coach. Good hustle. Thanks for getting here. A lot of people asked me at the Robbins Center, Chris, when's the basketball show going to start? When's the basketball show going to start? Your timing obviously was impeccable for when the basketball show would start on the heels of a terrific performance. Congratulations Saturday night against Northern Iowa.
Thank you. I thought we really played very, very well. It's probably, offensively and defensively, our most complete game. They're a really, really difficult team to defend because of how well they shoot and how good the point guard is. I thought we did a really good job defending and not letting them get too many three-point attempts. And so I think it's almost, we're going to shoot a good percentage, but you really can't let them get too many. I thought we did a good job of that, and offensively I thought we were terrific. I thought we just moved the ball extremely well, and every single guy just seemed to have, a nice combination of being aggressive, but also being unselfish. And so each guy that had the ball was looking to try something, but willing to throw the ball to the next guy. I thought we were really good.
I think you've kind of started to answer this next question. I think the theme of the first, quarter of the season now, 8 games, has been the surprising output of the offense, right from the head coach on down. There's been surprise that still averaging 82 a game, but been even higher than that as the season unfolded. Now that you've had 8 games to digest it, have you kind of figured out why this has come together the way it has?
I don't know. I think we're shooting well. I think we're getting good shots. We're keeping our turnovers down. But those things have been there in the past. I think a little bit probably. I haven't seen the numbers across the country, but I think the fouling and the calling more fouls probably has played into it for everybody to a certain degree. But that's probably only a few points. I think a big thing is having a really great player like Terry who can score in so many different ways. And until this last game, he had only had 2 3-pointers made and was still averaging over 20 points. Then he made 4 on Saturday. So I think that's a big part of it. And then for the most part, we've gotten some easier baskets in transition. Chandre is a guy who can score but also set up other people. TJ is kind of the hub of our offense. What we're trying to do is a guy who can score but also set up other people. So I don't have the exact reason why we have, but it's definitely something that we hope we can continue.
I know a stat that has always been important to you offensively is assists to field goals made, and I think it's up around 60% right now.
Wow.
It was 23 of 30 field goals Saturday against Northern Iowa, and I know that's an important number in the way we play offense.
Yeah, definitely. We had 29, I think, against Stetson, but that game was so up and down, and we were scoring so easily that you would expect to have a high number of assists, along with over 100 points. I think in a game that's very much a half-court game versus a team that has a very definitive half-court defensive plan and has been very successful, I think that number is terrific. And And it really showed up. I think each possession, I think the ball movement was very good. We only had 10 turnovers in the game, only 1 in the second half. So I think just the way the ball moved from one guy to the next was just very natural, and that really is a great stat, Bob. I mean, it's not something that always is telling or predictive of winning, but it certainly it certainly shows how much the ball is being shared and how guys are trusting of one another.
You are listening to, and you can talk with, Richmond basketball coach Coach Mooney on the Spider Sports Line tonight. 622-0950 is our telephone number. SpiderSportsline at richmond.edu is our email address if you'd like to shoot us a question as well. You are tuned in tonight on either ESPN 950 or richmondspiders.com. Normally, we will also be on Sports FM 100.5. That's ESPN 950 sister station. On the FM side of the dial, they've actually got Monday Night Football coverage tonight because it's the Redskins and the Cowboys. But, Chris, at least you and I can talk NFL football once again.
Yes, we can.
Because the Eagles shocked the world yesterday, did they not?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
It knocked me over with an eagle feather, I think, to have watched them win.
The Cowboys win tonight. The Eagles, yeah.
How about that? We're rooting for the Cowboys, of all things.
Yeah,
as Eagle fans, I know there's a lot of Redskins fans here, and good luck to them tonight as well. But my whole point of the matter was you could actually hear this show on our FM sister station on a normal basis, just not tonight because the Redskins pregame show is on the FM side and we're on the AM side. Hey, you mentioned Terry Allen. What a great start he has had to the season. Chris, you really challenged him in the summer and the preseason to get off to a good start this year. That maybe that was the one ingredient missing from an outstanding junior season.
Yeah, definitely. If you looked at his stats over his last 12 games or so, which is A10 play and the NIT, were unbelievable and really worthy of all conference honors and those things. I think because he started slow, and that's when people, you're paying a lot of attention at the beginning and checking scores and box scores and things. I think because he started slowly, he didn't get as much, he didn't get as many accolades at the end of the season. And I think we talked about that. He has been as zeroed in and as focused as anyone I've been around. I mean, Kendall was probably like that all the time, but Terry has been as focused as anyone we've had, and he is so determined to play well and get rebounds, and for us to win, it's really been impressive to watch. And he's always been a very competitive player, but this particular season and this stretch right here, he has been so zeroed in that it's really been something to watch, and I know something that his teammates have picked up on.
He's a modest guy, and he'll be here at some point during the season to be on the radio show with us. Preseason third team, Atlantic 10. Does that put a chip on his shoulder at all, or making more out of that than it is?
Yeah, it's probably to a certain extent it does. I've joked about it with him a little bit. But it's interesting. I think in sports, so many times people, it just seems like in sports and the culture the way it is, people feel disrespected and all. I try not to get into that stuff too much. I don't think it really matters, and I think Terry's similar. I don't know that. I think we try to teach our guys to be, respect yourself and respect the other people. You can't really control who has respect, and so I don't know if it does. I don't think that might have been a little bit extra, but I think that he came into the season extremely determined to have a great senior year, and I think that's much more about what it's about.
The great part about Terry Allen is he's not just leading the team in scoring, but it's rebounding, it's steals, it's assists. He is just a stat sheet stuffer.
Yeah, he the other night he had 5 steals, and we have never had a guy who loves to steal the ball as much as Terry, never. And we've had some guys who have been very good at it. K.A., Gonzo, Ryan Butler. Terry loves to steal the ball. And I would say this. I'd say all 5 of those steals were fairly timely in terms of, they'd score or they'd start to feel good, and he'd knock the ball away or come up with the ball. I mean, those are frustrating parts for the other team. And he really had such an incredible impact on that game as he has every game.
All right, hey, John O'Connor hit on this the other day as we kind of envelop the start of the season and talk about the first 8 games, with this being our first show. You look at the record, it says 5-3. You go, okay, that's okay start. They're moving along. But when you dive deeper into it, this is a resume-building record right now. I mean, how do you feel about that with wins at Wake Forest? They're playing well. They're getting those guys back that they didn't have. They're probably only going to get better. Against 14th-ranked California, a team with 2 really, really, really talented freshmen, but they're still figuring out the college game. They'll probably be better in February than they were in November. And then the win over Northern Iowa. I mean, those are 3 good-looking wins for the Spiders.
Yeah, they are. And I think as we were – when we started this particular stretch of those 4 games, I honestly thought a good team could lose all 4 games. Whether they were in a row or sprinkled throughout your schedule. Just very taxing, to have those 4 games. So I think to come out of there, we only really played poorly at Florida. I thought we played really well and competitively against West Virginia, and then of course the 2 games that we won. And Northern Iowa beat North Carolina earlier in the season, and they're a really, really good team. They're used to winning. They won 30 games last year. I think they're going to win a lot of games this season. So I think it's hard for me as the coach to start to think about those things down the road. But I know that when we put the schedule together, we're thinking that way. So, I'm pleased, and I just wish we could have that Florida game back just to play well. It's going to be hard to win at Florida anytime, but just to play a little bit better and give ourselves a little bit more of a chance.
I blame Jamal Brunt for the Florida loss to play that game on Tuesday night after coming back from Vegas. I know it sounds like an excuse, but I've been saying it. I don't think he really cares right now. He's got his team at 7-1 or something. Yeah. They're off to a great start. He'll probably take that knife we're throwing in his back right now. Although my curious question there is, why was that? See, you may not agree with me, but I really believe part of the reason we lost that game was the competitiveness of Vegas, the travel, going down to Florida. I don't know that it would have made a difference one day later, but why was it Tuesday and not a normal Wednesday, Saturday kind of scenario?
So I'll give you. You want the long answer?
I do. Okay, that's why we have an hour for a talk show.
So we scheduled to play Florida 2 years ago down there. I'm sorry, we scheduled to play Florida 3 years ago in Gainesville, and they had called in the beginning of the summer, and asked us to move the game to the following year because they had gotten an aircraft carrier game with Georgetown. So we said, well, that'll be fine, but you return the game to Richmond. And of course they said no to that, and so we negotiated. So then we ended up saying, okay, we'll play you twice. We'll play you the following year, skip a year, and then this game we just played. So then they called and said they were going to redoing the arena. So they were undergoing renovations for this year. Then the renovations were pushed back until April. So after we had scheduled Vegas and Northern Iowa, they said they could play this year to honor the contract, and it had to be December 1st or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. So we already had all those games scheduled when they came back and said they could play the game, and that was the date they could do it. So I'm not trying to not blame Brunt. I'd like to definitely blame Jamal. But that was how it came to be, and so we felt that we had gone through back and forth on so many things with the scheduling that we decided to play the game the day they could do it.
That is the long story, but it is a complete answer. And I thought maybe it had something to do with it being on television on the SEC network, that they could only take it Tuesday or whatnot. But it was just a little curious.
Yeah, no question. And I agree. I think that probably did play a little bit of a role. But that's the thing. If we could just pick the teams and pick the dates and times of the games, that would be much better. But it's you have to deal with a lot of different things and try to plug in the game. So, I've said this before. If you are committed to playing a good schedule, you're going to have to deal with things like this and groupings of games that you don't like. If you're committed to having a more natural schedule date-wise, then that would trump the good schedule at times. Yep. I think if you're mostly committed to having a great schedule, you're going to have you're going to have bumps like this on the road.
And now you got a nice 4-game homestand. It started with Northern Iowa, obviously a very challenging game, but to be home right now through finals, through the beginning of the holidays with 4 straight home games, there's the positive side of it.
Yeah, definitely. And we're looking forward to it. I thought the crowd the other night was tremendous, and it's just so it's just so great to play in the Robins Center, have our guys in there, have recruits in there. It's just such a great atmosphere for a game.
Hey, last thought before we go to a break. We'll come back, and again, Chris is with us a little bit beyond the first half of the show tonight, and then Michael Schaefer will be here. They're off to a 6-2 start. Robert Fish, who's handled most of the play-by-play for them, will handle our conversation with Coach Schaefer on the other half of 6 o'clock tonight. So in the bus the other night and at home after the game Saturday, I noticed all the assistant coaches were fighting over the title of rebounding coach. Who's got the title of rebounding coach these days? That's 4 out of the last 5 games.
Right.
Spiders have out-rebounded their opponent. If memory serves me correctly, Chris, we haven't been a great rebounding team the past couple of years, but seemed like they were fighting over who the rebounding coach is.
Since the game was in Vegas, what do you think the odds would have been of us out-rebounding West Virginia?
If I could, I would have put something down on it. I can't do that, but if I could, I would have put something down on that. Why the turnaround?
We've emphasized it a bunch, but we have emphasized it in the past. I think mainly I would just go to the guys, and because Terry is a guy who really can rebound and goes after the ball. Marshall Wood is a guy who really goes after rebounds and comes up with the ball. We're starting Trey Davis, who 2 years ago averaged 8 rebounds a game in Atlantic 10 play, and he's starting as a guard. Although he plays all over the floor. So I would just go back to the guys. I think we really have emphasized it, and we've tried to do it in both ways: break it down, and also doing it in full court and having stats on it, and all of those things. But I think it comes down to the players who are good enough to do it, and then also motivated enough to go in there and get some rebounds. But that would be my first thought about it. I think the emphasis is there, but I can't say that we didn't emphasize it in the past. I wish I could, but I can't say that we didn't emphasize it a bunch in the past.
All right, so far so good on a lot of fronts for the Spiders. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back. Enough of my questions. We'll get yours, 622-0950. We do have the wireless mic with us, so don't be shy in the restaurant tonight. We'll be glad to pass that mic around, and you get a chance to ask the questions. SpiderSportsline at richmond.edu if you'd rather email them as well. So we'll take a timeout, and we'll get to fans' questions when we come back. In a moment, as the Spider Sports Line continues, season premiere from Joe's Inn, Bon Air on ESPN 950 and the Spider IMG Sports Network, powered by Ace Electric.
Have you been dreaming about a new deck, screen, porch, or room addition? Make it happen by calling Adadec at 285-4239. Adadec doesn't just build decks. Of course, we can build your new deck or renovate your old one. We also build beautiful screen porches, open porches, sunrooms, and other room additions, and have been for over 25 years. We can design it, build it, and turn your dream into reality. Visit Adadec on
Bob Black with Spider head coach Chris Mooney, Spider women's coach Michael Schaefer coming up in the second half hour of our season premiere. As the year unfolds, of course, we'll have our special player guests. They'll be joining us. They are off studying for finals tonight, and they are practicing this evening. So that's why no players tonight, again, if you're just joining us, we're with you each and every Monday, 5:30 to 6:30 during the college basketball season, with the exception of the last Monday in December and the first Monday in January. There'll be no show. So we're here next Monday and the following Monday. Then we take 2 off, and then we'll be here every Monday night from 5:30 till 6:30. Spiders are off until Saturday night hosting Longwood. That is a 6:30 tip-off, not 6. It is a 6:30 game. Some of you are looking at me like, why 6:30? Well, we are televising on Channel 6 on Saturday night, CBS 6. They've got the Army-Navy game ahead of us at 3 o'clock, so they wanted to make sure they got all of our game, so they asked us to go to 6:30. So if you're not coming to the game, you got Army-Navy at 3 and Richmond-Longwood at 6:30. Saturday night. And then again, Spider football, of course, the coaches show tomorrow at Outback at noon with Coach Rocco and Brian Brown and David Jones, our player guest tomorrow for football, and then 7:30 Eastern Friday night against Illinois State. 622-0950, our phone number. And again, we've got the microphone, so all you got to do is raise your hand. We'll get you the mic. You can ask your questions. You don't have to listen to my dribble, my boring questions. With that as a backdrop, Ivan is with us tonight on the Spider Sports Line. Ivan, thanks for holding. You're on first with Coach Mooney.
Hey, Coach. Hey, Bob. How you both doing? Happy holidays.
Thanks, Ivan. Same to you.
Thank you. First, I want to say congratulations on a great start. I've been really impressed with the way your team has been rebounding, and its offense and defense have plenty. I mean, it's just been everyone on the team seems to be in sync.
Well, I appreciate that, Ivan. I think that's a good way to put it, in sync. And I thought that coming into this year, I was hoping that would be, and suspected that would be a strength of ours, just being able to play together, and guys who have experience, but also experience out there playing together and being able to pass the ball, willing passers and good passers, and guys who kind of just know how to play. And I think that has really shown up during the course of the year. So I appreciate you saying that.
What are you going to be when you have this break for semester for tests and everything? What do you do? I mean, do you go out there and check over the recruits you're going to look at, or do you make sure everybody is in their classrooms doing everything they're supposed to? Or?
Well, yeah. I mean, I hope they're in their classrooms for finals, Ivan. They really need to be there for sure. But yeah, definitely, we'll go recruiting. I'm going to go recruiting a couple of the days this week when we're off, and we have to squeeze in practice at different times because the exam schedule is so much different than the class schedule. So yeah, we'll try to get as much done as we can, and see a couple of the guys who have signed with us already, and then see some younger guys as well, and just going out there and just trying to make sure that they recognize that Richmond's there and looking for guys.
Well, what can you tell us real quick about Longwood, who you play Saturday?
Not too much yet, Ivan. To be honest with you, we haven't started to look at it. And today's practice will be a rare practice during the season where we don't worry about the opponent, and we'll just be able to focus on ourselves and hopefully have the guys get a good sweat and get back to studying.
Well, good luck, Coach. Hope you come up with a big team victory this Saturday.
Thanks, Ivan.
Thanks, Ivan. That opens the lines for additional calls at 622-0950, Spider Sports Line at richmond.edu, or the trusting Mike for those of you who are here at Joe's Inn Bonaire. I mentioned, Chris, that one of the preseason themes seemed to be Terry Allen getting off to a good start. Another that I don't know if it was talked about as much, but that I was interested in watching would be Chandre Jones and how he would emerge no longer having Kendall Anthony alongside him. And I think so far he's emphatically answered that question, averaging about 15 points a game, and seems very much at ease as a guard leading this team.
Yeah, for sure. And I thought that, Chandre got a real test right out of the gates against West Virginia. Mm-hmm. That's a really difficult game to play, and especially when you're asked to do so much ball handling and decision making. And I thought he was great. I thought he handled the ball very well. We have overall a good ball handling team, but it's just natural the point guard's going to handle the ball that much against that kind of pressure. Thought he was great. I thought so far he's been great. He's one thing that makes him a little bit different than the guards we've had. We've had great, Cedric and Kevin and Kendall, of course, but he's very talkative and loud and just very positive and upbeat and always talking to guys during the course of the game. And I've tried to really emphasize to him, I think it comes very naturally to him, how great that is and how reassuring that is as the coach, because,
it's just natural for the game has ebbs and flows, and when things aren't going as well, he's still just as positive, just as talkative, and ready to go. So he's really been terrific.
I think that's a really interesting dynamic of this team. Here was my observation from preseason is that everybody wanted this team to be Terry Allen's team. The rest of the guys, you as coaches, made it a point, I thought, that this would be Terry Allen's team. But he is not a vocal leader. He never has been. He's probably never going to be. And Chandre Jones, very capably, seems to fill that role.
Yeah, that's a great point. I remember when we were recruiting Chandre, his coach, said that Chandre would talk at halftime and Chandre would talk in the timeouts and the pregame. And I can remember thinking that he was just trying to sell his player, but it's true. I mean, he's very in tune with what's going on. He's a very savvy player, but he's also willing to talk to young guys, old guys, everybody to make sure that we're all on the same page and to make sure everybody's feeling good.
All right, let's go back to the phone, 622-0950. That's what the show's all about. We certainly want our Spider fans to get a chance to talk with Coach Mooney and with our players when they get here in ensuing weeks. All right, Bruce, let's go to you first. You're up with Coach Mooney on the Spider Sports Line from Joe's in Bon Air.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, Coach Mooney. Good evening, Bob.
Hi, Bruce. How are you?
Great. Coach, quick question for you. And this is all in hypothetical speech here.
Okay.
You guys beat Northern Iowa on Saturday evening.
Yeah.
Northern Iowa upset then #1 UNC. You guys have also beat Wake Forest. Are we getting too far ahead? Am I getting too far ahead? Let me rephrase. Am I getting too far ahead when I began to look at March and I look at your wins thus far?
Yes.
Bruce, that's something that fans and the media can do. But I'm not sure coaches and players are allowed to do that.
Yeah, Bruce, and I appreciate it. And I would say that, we try to schedule in the off season thinking about those things. But when you're in the season, especially for our guys, I mean, they see so many things on the internet and on social media. I can remember when we were in 2011, we were going through and having a great season, and because they start talking about Selection Sunday so early, they started just saying it kind of turned in February. We had beaten Purdue, who was like 6th in the country, and it started to turn like at the end of February. Well, Richmond can't count on its win against Purdue forever. So I said, well, we can't play them again. We had them. And so because they evaluate it and talk about it so many days in a row, so often, it just gets to be it's really hard to focus. And I can remember, since we've been there on the bubble and both sides, it's just a little bit too much if at least the coach and the staff and the players aren't just worried about one game at a time in the next practice.
Well, that's very well understood. And I just want to say one thing to you, Coach Moon. I've met you one-on-one. I think your success here locally with Sherrod, with Buckingham, it speaks volumes for what the whole U of R. My son is a kids club sports member, but it just speaks volumes for what you're doing here at U of R.
Oh, so, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Bruce, thanks. Come by and see us and call us again, all right? Let's stay right on the phones there, Matt Joseph. Punch the next one up. Dennis, you're up with Coach Mooney. About halfway through the Spider Sports Line tonight, and Coach has about 5 minutes or so. Go ahead, Dennis.
Coach, I just want to make a comment and a question, and then I'll drop off and let you comment. But I was one of 5 family members who traveled out to Las Vegas to see the Spiders, and I thought our fan base of about 50 out there maybe sounded more like 250, and just curious to see what your thoughts were with regards to how that, and if that does have any impact on our team. And good luck the rest of the season, Coach.
Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate it. Well, we had a great following, I thought, and I was surprised when they went to, I didn't notice anything until they went to pregame introductions, and I noticed how loud our section was on the first night. It was right behind our bench. And it was great. And that's a huge impact on our guys. And I thought San Diego State had a really big crowd. Of course, much closer. But for us to have that many people over a holiday so far away from home, was great. So we have a couple of them in the house
Yes, we
tonight,
do.
and we're really appreciative that they made the trip and cheered for us.
What a fun trip. I mean,
Yeah,
come
exactly.
on, over the holiday, and it's a lot of fun, and you see some good some really good basketball.
Yeah.
That's one of the things you and I talked about. All right, so you lose to West Virginia, no shame in that. That wasn't a typical consolation, quote-unquote, third-place game that you were playing. All due respect, you weren't playing Bethune-Cookman or Stetson for third place. You were playing a nationally ranked team.
Yeah, exactly. That was when we went to scout the game that night. You know, it's like you don't really know who you're rooting for or against, and those guys on Cal are so talented. That was my fear. Is they're so talented that the lack of preparation for both teams would they're so talented that it would reward that talent. But fortunately, I think our experience and toughness really shone in the second game.
All right, I know you got to go in a few minutes here. What will this week be like? I think I haven't asked you what your week will be like, or the coaches. How about for the guys as far as when they got to be in test situation or papers or whatnot, but also, and Greg Beckwith mentioned this at the end of the telecast the other night, at some point their eye is going to be on the prize of getting back to basketball again, and what that mix will be like. And you do have a veteran group for the most part to handle it this year.
Definitely, and you can see that. I mean, the younger player guys, these guys' heads are spinning the first time through finals, and it's really impressive how much work they have to do, but. We'll go today for like 45 minutes, and we'll have off tomorrow. A lot of guys have finals tomorrow. We'll practice Wednesday just a little longer because it's a reading day. And then Thursday we'll be off again because so many guys have tests. So it's really rare for us to be off this 2 days out from a game. And then we'll go Friday at our normal time. So then finals wrap up next Tuesday. So it's really it's just difficult. You know, there's no way around it. Everybody plays. We're fortunate that we get to play a home game on that Saturday. But it's really something that's very taxing and, again, impressive how much hard work these guys have to do.
How are the younger guys coming along on the basketball side of things? Quan Four obviously was here last year as a redshirt. Jesse Pistacacci, Julius Jones, Paul Frenshue.
Well, I think, you know what, I think they're doing well. I think the schedule has been such that it's been hard to get guys, if we had, I look at some schedules and the teams maybe, home for 7 and have 2 neutral, and you get to have guys get in and get their confidence, and we just haven't had that. So I think they're doing really well, but they just need the time on the floor, and so I think we're getting there. I think Paul really helped us in the Wake Forest game. As with every freshman, they're a little bit up and down, but I think a talented group and a group that can really help us now and in the future.
All right, we're going to let you go. I know you're heading back to that practice you mentioned. We'll see you Saturday for the game against Longwood, and then back here next Monday night.
Great. Thanks very much,
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Chris Mooney, he'll be with us for the full hour for the majority of these shows moving forward, but the headliner's coming up next anyway. Michael Schaefer will be with us. Robert Fish, who handles our women's basketball play-by-play, will join us at the head table. They're coming off a big win over Providence, so we'll talk some Spider women's basketball on the other side of a break as we continue from Joe's in Bon Air, the season premiere of the Spider Sports Line on the Spider IMG Sports Network. We are powered by Ace Electric. Joe's in.
switching gears here for the second part of the show as Bob and Chris get a break tonight. We'll talk some Spider women's basketball this evening. Good to have all you folks here with us. Robert Fish with women's basketball coach Michael Schaefer here. They're off to a 6-2 start. And, Coach, congratulations on your win against Providence. And welcome aboard. Good to have you out here with us tonight. Glad to be here for Coach Schaefer here. Talk a little bit to us about how the team has done so far at 6-2. You started off at 5-0, and you had your trip with the Marquette game that hit the brakes a little bit, then a tough loss to Furman, but bounced back with that win over Providence on Saturday. So how do you feel things have gone to this point?
You know, I mean, I think they've gone fairly well. I mean, obviously 6-2 is a respectable record. At the same time, I think it's, when you look at our basketball team and where we are, we knew our guards were going to be very solid and very good, and they have been. And they've got a lot of experience. And our key has been trying to get our forwards to kind of come along as quick as possible. And in our 2 losses, I felt like we kind of got exposed a little bit there. So we've been working really hard trying to get them up to speed so that there's not somebody can help off of or somebody can take advantage of just the inexperience. It's not really a talent issue. It's more of an inexperience issue. So I feel like we're doing that. And now that we're here in exams, we have an opportunity to kind of get more one-on-one work and do some player development, which we're going to do. We practice tonight, but we'll do that the rest of the week as well.
You know, we talked about the 5-0 start that included a win over Old Dominion.
Yeah.
You also got William & Mary in there, and you picked up a win over a Wichita State team that may be down a little bit, but that was during your Florida trip. But you also had 3 games in 5 days coming off of that into the Furman game. So that was a little bit tough to go through that stretch, probably.
You know, and I always feel like that if the coach is tired, the kids probably are. I mean, that's probably a fair assessment. And, you know, coming back from Miami, having played Wilmington on a Monday and then gone down to Miami and played and had to play 2 tough games and then turn around and come back home and play on Tuesday, we felt it. I mean, we absolutely felt it, and it was hard. I mean, we pleaded and tried to get those legs to go, and we just couldn't do it. And then we took that next day off and then prep for Providence, which was our first true road game. And, you know, it was a grind playing up there. I mean, it was one of those deals where I think our confidence was, you know, wavering a little bit. So the shots weren't going in as easy, and nothing was real easy. It was a really ugly game, to be quite honest. But I thought our defense really held, and then when it mattered the most, we hit shots and got a good road win.
And not only that, but during that stretch, you had that game with Marquette, which the final was 98-80. And I think as much
we
as
call that an anomaly, Robert.
It's been around
anomaly. 98 points.
Game.
We've never given up 98 points.
I don't know that we've seen a lot of games that get to that point, but that was the type of game that you had to play in that stretch, which probably contributed a little bit more to the.
Well, the bottom line is right now, the depth is an issue, and we played a game where there was a lot of possessions and it was up and down, and we gave up 98 and we scored 80, you know, or whatever it was, 81, but that's a lot for our players because I mean we don't have a lot of them, and we've had a couple of injuries for kids being out. We're getting one back. That's going to be starting practice now, so that in Tasia Murphy, so that helps our depth, but we just didn't have her then. So I mean, it's been a situation where we've kind of had to adjust, and that game caught us. I mean, and it was a fast tempo, so we've had to kind of pull back the reins a little bit and slow them down and make sure we're taking care of their legs.
You go back to the Providence game as we visit with Coach Michael Schaefer here in the second part of our Spider Sportsline tonight. Coach Mooney and Bob in the first half hour, and Coach Schaefer here with the women's basketball team tonight. You go back to the Providence game, an incredible high number of steals that you had in that contest, defensive pressure, and you were able to take advantage of that, and pretty much, I guess, kind of the terminology went to steal that win up there in Providence more so.
We did. I thought our defense was excellent, and I thought for the first time in probably 2 or 3 games, we were really locked in scouting-wise in terms of understanding who's a shooter, who's a driver, and our kids were able to come off and help, and when we did that, we were in the right spots to make plays. And you know, if you can put them in the right position, we've got some players that can make plays. I mean, Kylie can knock down balls, Michaela knocks down balls, and LT obviously. But, you know, obviously if you can get steals, you get easy baskets at times. And that we got some easy transition baskets, which helped us. And plus, we got more opportunities to score, more opportunities to shoot. And we didn't shoot it particularly well, but because we got more opportunities, we were able to, get more points to them. So I thought our defense really won the game for us.
That's Kylie Murphy, the freshman guard from Fairfax that you mentioned her name. She's a sophomore, but she's probably one of your better defenders.
She's a great defender, particularly an on-ball defender. I mean, you don't realize it when she walks in the room. She looks like an average young lady. I mean, average size, average height. But then you look at those arms, and they are really, really long. I'll demonstrate in practice every now and then, and she'll guard me, and then I realize why we didn't run it as well as we should have. I'm trying to demonstrate offense, and then she trying to put those arms out, and I'm like, okay, I get it now. Just a really long, athletic kid and has a knack for defense. And that really kind of leads us into the rest of our defense. If we can get the ball stopped originally, we don't have to help as much. And I think we did a good job of that in Providence.
And one of the other players you mentioned was Michaela Parson, who's not far from here where we are here at Joe's.
No, she's right down the road.
Right down the road from Monacan, from the sophomore. And she's playing exceptional basketball for you right now. Probably one of the better players off the dribble that you'll see in the women's basketball game right now.
And going back to our guard situation, I mean, coming into the year, we knew Janelle Hubbard was going to be a great player. Lauren Tolson, who has really come on and developed now as a senior, but first 2 years were probably a struggle for her. Michaela was a kid who really finished the year very, very strong for us and struggled early last year as a freshman, but at the end of the year, she was really hard to guard. The hard part is sometimes freshmen have success as freshmen and forget how hard it is to be good. And sophomore year early, they have a slump because they don't realize how hard it is. They just kind of forget. Michaela has not been that way. She has come in and really has been a special guard, and as her game develops, as she continues to work on her outside shot, I think she's going to become very, very difficult to guard, which is fortunate for us and probably not so much for the opponent.
As we look at the team, too, now, and talking about the point where you are, you mentioned trying to get that front court developed. Of course, you're trying to replace Jen Okoro, and obviously it's a funny story from one of the games the other night. Someone threw a long pass. It was at the Robins Center. Tried to throw a full-length court pass to one of the freshmen, and Jen was in the stands and stood up and yelled to whoever who threw it, "Hey, I'm not out there. I'm over here," which means you're so used to throwing it so far for her to go get it, as she could do in the fast break. But the point being, you're trying to find a way to replace her. You've got Salita Green in there, Tula Mena, a couple of players that are trying to replace. I know she suffered a setback at Providence, but those two players are freshmen. As hard as it is when you watch to believe the way they play, that they're very talented.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not a talent thing. It's an experience thing. And Tula's going to be out for a while with her injury, not season ending, but out for a bit here. And fortunately, we're during exams, so she'll miss a few games. But the good news is that she's not going to miss as many as she would if it were middle of conference. Salita is a tremendous athlete. When we recruited her, we felt like she could be similar to Jen in being able to go rebound out of her area, and she's proven that. The issue is with all freshmen. I mean, I heard Chris talking about it. You take into consideration them going to class. You take into consideration being away from home. You take into consideration them having to learn new terminology defensively, offensively, and all those things. And then you throw in exams, and their heads are absolutely spinning. And all we're asking her to do is, rebound the ball, and she's thinking, I don't even know what you're talking about. And you go, well, that's, as a senior in high school, it was no problem. Now, all of a sudden, everything's clogging their minds. And Salita shows glimpses of what she can be. We've got to get her to be consistent. And, I'm probably the most impatient human being as there is, and I'm trying to find a way to be more and more patient, understanding, hey, this is a freshman who's going to really help us. We just got to make sure that we keep working to develop her.
And Green had, in her time from Durham, North Carolina, she had over 1,000 rebounds in her high school
it's phenomenal. I mean, really, she's, some kids box out, and you teach fundamentals on boxing out, and then there's some kids who just can go get the ball. And she locates it quickly in the air, and then she's got the athletic ability to just run and go get it. And she's kind of like Okoro in the sense she just doesn't see people. She just goes to the ball, and whatever's in her way, she just kind of goes by them. So she's got a knack for that. And she's been a pretty good outside shooter. We weren't sure about that going in. She's knocked down the 15, 16-foot jump shot as well. So
well, I'm really pleased with her, and I'm pleased with Thule as well. I mean, it's just unfortunate that she's had a little bit of a foot injury here that's going to hold her up. But she's a foreign kid who's had a lot of experience and very skilled, and both of them are freshmen. And they're both learning, but I like where they're heading.
All right, Coach Michael Schaefer with us. We'll take a short time out here and come back with more. Second part of the Spider Sports Line from Joe's Inn here in Bon Air. We'll take a quick break and be back with more of our show tonight. You're following the Spider Sports Line this evening on ESPN 950 and the Spider Sports Network from IMG, powered by Ace Electric.
Need a good price on tires with great service? Visit Dyke Tire, your locally owned Tire Pros dealer, for all your car care needs. Our services start with a full line of tires for your car and truck, including Bridgestone and Firestone. We work on all vehicles from oil changes to repairs to your engine. Dyke Tire Pros is a proud supporter of the University of Richmond Spiders. For the best deals on Bridgestone and Firestone tires, visit Dyke Tire Pros in Richmond today, online at dyketire.com.
To Jen's perfect car. You may be a one CarMax car needle in our 40,000 CarMax car haystack, but we'll find you. You're a 4-door, 4-wheel drive with a, quote, bomb-ass stereo, .com, and you will become Jen's car. That is, once she decides whether you're teal or turquoise. CarMax. So, you have good gas mileage. You can't hide from us, you rare vehicular unicorn. We'll track you down on CarMax.
With Spider Women's head coach Michael Schaefer and Chris Mooney and Bob Black taking a break for the second half hour. They were here earlier. Chris back for practice. Michael just came from practice a little bit ago. The adjusted schedule, Coach, as you are in exams now, you guys are used to dealing with this over and over again.
Yep.
You mentioned the freshmen having to deal with it, but it is a little bit of a change, and I know that football's got it coming up. They play Friday night now. They've got routine. You guys have a routine you like to get with, but this time of year kind of jockeys that routine around a little bit. You have to change some things. So what do you do this time of year to make things work out as well as they can?
I think the best thing you can do is to try to keep it fresh, and you can kind of try to keep it light for them. So, the obvious is exams are stressful for anybody, and particularly at Richmond. And, we want them to do well academically, and we want to give them that time. So we kind of just label it as a study break as opposed to a practice. We practiced today as a team, and we have worked only on offense. So, I can't tell you, I'm sure if you're a player, that's your favorite kind of practice.
Right.
Tomorrow we'll do individual workouts, literally, where we're just working on player development and trying to go back to some of the habits. When you start the season, you work on your team and trying to get them in the right spots defensively, offensively. And then when you start playing games, you start dealing with scouting, and you start kind of going away from some of the stuff in terms of development. Now is an opportunity for us to kind of go back and kind of start building those habits back and that maybe had slipped a little bit. So that's what we're going to focus on.
When you look at it, we talked about it at the beginning of the year. You've got Lauren Tolson, obviously. You've got Janelle Hubbard. Now you put Parson in that mix. You mentioned Murphy on defense. You have to feel like you've got one of the better backcourts, at least in a 1-2 punch as well, in the A-10 right now, don't you?
We do. We certainly do. If it's not the best, it's going to be one of the top 2 or 3 in the league. And the hardest thing is right now, that's what's critical about the forwards. Right now, everybody's locking down on those guards and making it difficult, and we're not getting a lot of production from inside. We've got to continue to go inside, even if it's just to get the defense's attention. and that's where Salida and Thule and Carly and Rennie really need to step up. And Alicia played in the game at Providence and gave us good minutes off the bench. So I mean, I think those things really need to just kind of come. And it doesn't have to be to the tune of 20 points or anything like that. It just needs to be a threat. And we're going to work. That's what we've been focusing on in practice, and we're going to continue to focus on that so that we can kind of loosen up that defense on the guards.
Do you have any occasion or possibility to use the guards in the post somewhat if they have a particular matchup where they can go down low and circle through and match up inside?
Yeah, Michaela's actually in practice very good. Right. Very good on the block. I mean, when you look at her, you wouldn't think so, but she's talented. Janelle, when she catches it down there, as slight as she is, can score. I mean, she's got a fadeaway jump shot, and Bria is actually really good on the block. So we'd like to get them down there. And what we're encouraging is trying to get paint touches, whether that's the ball going into the post or our guards driving it in there. As long as the ball gets into that area, then we feel like that we're doing something well in an attacking mode.
And we're continuing the Spider Sports Line tonight from Joe's Inn, visiting with the women's basketball coach Michael Schaefer here. And Coach, you've got this somewhat of a break, if you will, now after the Providence game. And this gives you time to get ready for what's always a tough game against James Madison, coming up on Sunday, 2 o'clock at the Robbins Center. I know they've had a tough start, but they play pretty good basketball. As you look at James Madison, what do you see when you get ready for that one?
Well, they're excellent. I mean, and quite honestly, like Chris said, I mean, this is one of those times in the season where I haven't looked at them, but I do look at their scores and understand, what they present. And they're very good. They score the ball really, really well. They're long and they're athletic. When we've always, I mean, it's just been a knockdown, drag-out type game, probably like football, probably like men's basketball, just a very similar type rivalry. And we're going to try to focus on getting us ready for us, and then focus on JMU probably starting on Friday. So we've got a little bit of time, hopefully, that we can improve ourselves, and then we'll start to lock in on them, because that's going to be a very tough basketball game.
And after that game, you close out December with some more, a little bit of difficult schedule-wise, moving around. You're at Appalachian State, you're at Wake, you've got Lafayette, and then Virginia. Yeah, those two teams are in Charlottesville at the end of December. So you got that James Madison game on Sunday, and then you got to go back out on the road again.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a break where we got to play a lot of home games to start the season. Maybe I need to talk to whoever schedules and see if we can get all home games again, I guess. We're going to have to go on the road. Charlottesville's not a hard trip, but we're playing at UVA, so that's going to be difficult. And then the Wake game and the App State game, we're going to actually stay out for that game, so that'll be an interesting trip as well. But excuse me, good opportunities for us to get some good wins on the road.
Real quick look at the A-10, obviously, the normal cast of characters, GW, Dayton.
Yeah, GW and Dayton are very good. Dayton just lost a kid, one of their starting guards, who's probably their better defender, to an ACL, so that could affect them. Unfortunately, in women's basketball, that happens more often than we'd like to talk about, but I don't know how much that'll affect them. They're very good. GW's good. Duquesne's very good. And I'll tell you, the team that got our attention last year very quickly, but has had a great year, St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah.
St. Louis, was up 20-0 on us, and we were able to find a way to come back. I don't know if that's going to happen if we do it again when we go on the road.
All right, Michael, we appreciate it. Thanks for coming by. And
absolutely.
We're looking forward to everybody come on out on Sunday at 2 o'clock for that James Madison game. But thanks, we appreciate it.
We're going to try to make it another good weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday sweep, right?
Absolutely. All right, thank you. That's Coach Schaefer, women's basketball. And we'll take a quick time out here, come back, Bob, and we'll close things out in just a moment. Let's take one more time out, and we'll continue in a second here from Joe's Inn on the Spider Sports Line on ESPN 950, the Spider Sports Network, powered by Ace Electric.
Hey guys, this is Big Al, and I want to talk to you about something serious, prostate cancer. 1 in 7 of us will develop it. I know firsthand because I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Fortunately, I was diagnosed early, and when caught early, it's treatable. I went to Virginia Urology, where my doctor discussed my options, listened to my concerns, and took care of me in a thorough and professional manner. So if you're over 40, have a family history, or are African American, you need to talk to your doctor about an annual prostate cancer screening. Call Virginia Urology, 288-0339, or go to virginiaurology.com.
At UR School of Professional and Continuing Studies, we offer flexible and affordable degrees to help you start, advance, or change your career. Explore our newest graduate degrees in nonprofit studies and public history. Plus, check out our new bachelor's degree and certificate in information security. With evening classes and tuition starting at just $450 per semester hour, you can earn a UR degree on your terms. The University of Richmond School of Professional and Continuing Studies. We work for working professionals. Visit spcs.richmond.edu for details.
You're listening to the Spider Sports Line with men's basketball coach Chris Mooney and the voice of the Spiders, Bob Black. Live from Joe's Inn, Bon Air on the Spider IMG Sports Network. Powered by Ace Electric.
Really good start to our season of Spider Sportsline Basketball Edition, if I must say so myself. Thank you very much for making it such. Robert Fish with head coach Michael Schaefer. This is a unique perspective to sit over here on this side.
It's different, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel like a guest on my own radio show here. And I kind of like it over here. It's a whole different perspective on things. Great start for the women, 6-2, and as you said, they got JMU on Sunday. The men, great start at 5-3 with some marquee wins and an opportunity to get win number 6 Saturday night against Longwood. So really good start for both basketball programs and good start for us here tonight. Quick reminders of what's coming up. Football show tomorrow at Outback at noon on the other side of the river with head coach Danny Rocco and our special player guest David Jones and Brian Brown. Remember, that's a Friday night game. Team is actually leaving Wednesday night, so the schedules are really different this week for Spider football, but you know Coach Rocco will have them ready to go certainly for the game against Illinois State. 7:30 Eastern Time, 7 o'clock our pregame show on our Spider IMG Sports Network, and we'll, as Coach Schaefer said, Robert, look for another sweep this weekend, huh?
Well, let's hope so. I mean, it's everybody's playing really well right now. Let's hope it continues. The men got that really sharp win against Northern Iowa. The women got back on track, a little bump in the road there with the Marquette game and of course the Furman game, but I think they got back on track for Providence, and we all know how well football is playing. So
I like what Coach Schaefer said about the home games at the start of the year. Maybe we could play them all at home, but he had a great start, and now the men have the 4 straight at home, starting with that Northern Iowa win. All right, that'll do it for us tonight. Thanks to everybody who came out for the first show. We'll see you back here next Monday night at 5:30 with Coach Mooney and some special player guests as well. Thanks to Robert Fish, Michael Schaefer, Chris Mooney, Mitchell Bradley, Nick Bailey, Matt Josephs. Cast of thousands put this show on tonight. Carolyn Center, she was here early tonight to help us set up. All I had to do was talk. Thanks to everyone. We'll see you at the Robbins Center Saturday night for Spider men's basketball, Sunday afternoon for Spider women's basketball, and we'll look for you on the air Friday night from Illinois State, Spider quarterfinal action in the FCS playoffs. So long from Joe's in Bon Air for the Spider Sports Line.